Hi, I'm Natasha Gaffer, and I'm the CEO and a co-founder of Foreverware, and I'm here today to inspire you with interesting examples of how companies are profiting from the circular economy. And if the term circular economy is new to you, I'll give you a brief explanation. Waste is a result of what we call a linear economy. You also hear it called take, make, waste. And on the left of this image, resources are extracted from the earth. This is actually an image of petroleum, which is what plastic is made of. And the mining process itself is often environmentally and socially destructive, and it also consumes energy and labor. Products are then manufactured with little regard on how they're going to be used in their end life. For example, products that have a combination of materials such as plastic-coated paper, like takeout boxes, those types of items can't be recycled. Then products are distributed. They often travel long distance in a lot of protected packaging, often from China, which creates CO2 emissions. Then the products are purchased by the consumers from the stores. They use the product, and then they dispose of it. So in this very last step, resources are thrown away along with the labor, energy, and wasted CO2 that went into them. So with a circular economy approach, the most notable difference is in that last step. So instead of throwing resources away, products are designed to be reused, repaired, or repurposed, and if products leave that cycle, those byproducts are meant to regenerate natural systems like composting. So that's kind of an overview of the circular economy, so let's get into it. Some of the business models or strategies we're going to touch on are reuse and sharing, so keeping things in use, and this is probably the most obvious. We'll look at some interesting new examples though. We'll also look at resource recovery, subscribe and incentivize models, product modularity and upgrades, and aligning incentives. So let's kick off the conversation with the mega trend in reuse and sharing. And it's important to the circular economy because circularity is all about reducing waste by maximizing the use of valuable assets that already exist. So Airbnb is a familiar example to start with, and it was one of the first to capitalize on the sharing model by maximizing the value of your unused rooms in your home. Airbnb makes money by charging a service fee to both the host and the guest, and Airbnb provides insurance, but they otherwise don't pay for any labor. So the company was valued at about $18 billion before the pandemic. Similarly, ride sharing via cars, bikes, and scooters has exploded, as we know. Cars sit unused for about 98% of their useful life. Companies like Uber and Lyft are recapturing that value. And though this model is extremely popular, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's profitable. Uber has branched out, expanding into food and freight delivery and even experimenting with services like helicopter and boat. And in each of these scenarios, drivers or labor represent a significant cost to these companies. So driverless vehicles are a good solution to this problem, and we're going to come back to that. So tools have a similar problem to cars and homes. The average drill is used for 13 minutes in its entire lifetime. And to recapture that value of tools, tool libraries are popping up all over the place. And I love this example. In Toronto, for roughly $1 per week, you can have access to all 7,000 of the tools in their library, along with the mentors that often mingle there in their makerspace. In Buffalo, New York, they also have a library. You can pick from 3 membership models or levels. They have tool belt level, which gets you 5 tools at a time for $20 per year. Toolbox level gets you 25 tools at a time for $50 a year. And with wheelbarrow level, you can borrow 50 tools at a time for $100 a year. So here's another profitable example, a company called The Real Real. And they're a consignment company that diverts used goods from landfill, making profit on the resale of used high-quality luxury products. And the key here is high-quality products that last. So this is a great example of changing consumer behavior. They work with consumers, but they also work directly with high-end brands like Stella McCartney to incentivize their customers to purchase high-quality products, knowing that they can later resell them to The Real Real for a credit to buy again at Stella McCartney. And many of the high-end brands that The RealReal was trying to work with didn't see the value in this idea, and The RealReal had to do some market education on the value proposition for their partners. On the customer end of things here, the more that used items are shared, the more they approximate the prices of fast fashion, meaning that the customer ends up paying just a fraction of the price for high-end brands. Another company is called Borrow Baby, and they profit from rental fees of used children's clothing. So we know that kids grow out of clothes really quickly, they don't get much use, so instead of throwing them out, parents can borrow items for, say, 4 months at a time, and then swap them out for new looks, so they always have trendy looks. And one thing here to be mindful of, again, is the labor. Labor is required for washing and shipping, and labor can eat up those profits. This is an interesting model for adult clothing too, and there's several to choose from. There's Rent the Runway, ThredUp, and there's a ton more. Customers can rent clothing and accessories for a flat monthly membership fee. Some services allow you to purchase items at a discount. Many also launder the items for you, so you can send them back dirty. I love that idea, so you don't have to do the laundry. Le Tote, which isn't around anymore, they claim that they've developed an apparel cleaning process that uses biodegradable detergents, 43% less electricity, 11% less gas, and 50% less water than doing the laundry yourself. So I don't know why you wouldn't use this. Patagonia has gone as far as to create a website called Warrenware to resell used items. So if you grow out of an item or no longer have use for it, you can bring it to a Patagonia store and trade it in for Warrenware credits that you can use to buy something new on Patagonia.com, or you can buy something that's used on Warrenware.com. And their value proposition is that they offer quality gear that will last and can be passed on. Shipping containers are another great example of reuse. Before shipping containers, transferring goods from ship to port was a manual process, and goods were stored temporarily in warehouses. When the first standardized shipping containers was produced, it allowed goods to be transferred from the port terminal directly to a truck, to train, and then skip that expensive warehousing step altogether. And the standardized containers also stacked higher and were theft resistant. So over the last 60 years, the cost to ship cargo has dropped more than 90%. And this idea applies really nicely to food supply chain as well. I don't think it's quite as established, but it is very valuable here as well. So cardboard boxes that are packed with fresh produce have low stacking strength, and the cardboard is vulnerable to losing its strength when it's exposed to humidity, so if the box gets wet. Reusable plastic crates as an alternative reduce waste, but they also stack higher and they prevent damage to produce from crushed boxes. And compared to wood, which is similar in strength, plastic also has a smoother surface, which prevents loss of soft produce from the rough wood surface. And there are several trade-offs with reusable packaging models, including higher initial cost of the crates and the cost of sanitation labor, but often you can still see a return on your investment. With this model, each supplier of the reusable packaging has to set up two-way distribution and supply chains so that products and components can flow back to the container supplier and then potentially back up the supply chain to start the process again. And this idea of control over recovery of resources is also gaining in popularity in other aspects of business as well. So consider for a moment the element of confusion in the home with electronics. So for example, you have an old laptop or an iPad or a phone. Maybe you have a full drawer of electronics. I know that I did at one point. What do you do with all of them? The recovery plan just isn't very clear. So the reason that it's important to ask this is because the global economy creates the equivalent of 120,000 jumbo jets in weight worth of e-waste every year. And that has the same value as 3 times the output of all the silver mines in the world. So if you take a ton of e-waste, it contains more gold than a ton of gold ore. So it's really interesting to consider how to recover the value here. Here's Daisy. Daisy is Apple's iPhone recycling robot that can disassemble 200 phones an hour in order to recover dozens of materials, from gold and silver to phosphorus and titanium. And recovering more of an individual material like cobalt makes it possible for Apple to have enough volume to convince a recycler to take its material so it can be recycled back into new batteries. And I will say that $1 million robot isn't exactly profitable, so in addition to their recovery initiatives, Apple has a trade-in program that gives customers a credit towards a new phone when they send their old one back in. And then Apple refurbishes and resells the majority of those devices. In comparison, reclaiming the raw materials in a mobile phone will typically capture 0.1% of its value, whereas refurbishment and sale into a secondary market can unlock 40% of the value. But there's an interesting juxtaposition here. So if the company has a business model that requires that they continuously sell new products to survive, and instead they're pumping out repair devices that last longer, then how do they survive? So here's where Apple's leasing program comes in with a monthly subscription that gives consumers new phones each year and takes back the old phones. So it's a great way for companies to take more control over the eventual fate of the materials and potentially turn them into products that are always new for the customer. That type of model can also incentivize companies to design products so they're easier to not only repair but to also upgrade. Here's a company offering a subscription to customers for their modular headphones. The name of this brand is Gerrard Street. And if a part breaks on your headphones, a replacement part is sent that you can easily replace yourself. And then they also send you a return bag with free postage to send back the broken parts. And repair is a huge hassle, so having the user do it themselves saves money for both the customer and the business. But also, Gerrard Street can reuse 85% of the recovered materials of the headphones rather than buying new material. In 2014, Google's Project Ara attempted to do something similar, developing customizable hardware upgrades via modules that attach to a frame. So in the picture here, the red area is a phone frame where you can just pop in modules. And some of the modules they had were like upgrades for processors, displays, batteries, cameras, and they also had some specialized components. And this design allows the device to be upgraded over time with new capabilities without requiring the purchase of an entirely new device, which is expensive. So it provides longer life cycle for the device, and it also reduces electronic waste. And some of the cool features they offered were a miniature secondary display for the backside of the device. They had pulse and oxygen level monitors. They had a credit card reader, obviously, a microphone, camera upgrades, screen replacements, and much more. And sadly, this project was shut down in 2016. But as a software engineer, this is a neat project, so I really hope they're still developing this behind closed doors. There is another company keeping the dream alive. They are called Fairphone. And the phone is modular, so you can replace parts rather than buying a whole new phone. And repairs and upgrades are so easy that the customer can do it themselves. So it's cheaper for both Fairphone and the customer and less of a hassle for Fairphone. And this phone gets a 10 out of 10 review for repairability on a site called iFixit. And I thought I'd show you this because they've made a business around repairability. I really like this. They give away repair guides, and they make 90% of their revenue by selling parts and tools to average people to make those repairs. Another company that has been capitalizing on modularity and repairability for the last 70 years now is Land Rover. And they allow you to adapt your vehicle for your needs and increase its value over its useful life. So the first Land Rover came with an optional roof and window tops in 1948, and they still have a ton of modular upgrades. So from one adventure to the next, you can add a roll cage, a snorkel for driving through water, grill and winch, off-road suspension, lift kit, engine upgrades, exhaust upgrades, entertainment systems, LED lights, side steps, and bars. They have 16 custom wheel sets and a plethora of tires for every terrain. A newer company taking advantage of this is Tesla, the electric vehicle company founded by Elon Musk. And last year they unveiled their robo-taxi plans for a fully self-driving vehicle as a ride-sharing network. I don't know about you, but this concept absolutely blows my mind, and their stock has been going absolutely crazy since the beginning of the year. So here's how it works. Owners of Tesla vehicles will be able to add their cars to the shared fleet to earn money or summon an autonomous vehicle to pick them up and bring them to their destination. And the Tesla vehicles have all been equipped with the necessary hardware for self-driving, and each vehicle also receives regular software updates. And Musk argues that the Model 3 used as a robo-taxi could generate about $30,000 in gross profit per year for the owner of the vehicle. And I love Tesla because they've changed this industry completely by aligning company and customer incentives. They're not just building a car that they forget about as soon as you drive it off the lot. The value of the car also doesn't drop instantly. They're building a durable, long-lasting car that's repairable and upgradable. They don't want your car to fail because it's a valuable asset for their autonomous fleet down the road. There's another company changing its industry and aligning incentives with their customers. It's called Lambda School, and they offer a college education for no upfront cost to students. So it's completely free. And after you graduate, and you're earning at least $50,000 a year, Lambda collects a percentage share of your income to pay for your tuition. And if your income drops at any point below $50,000, then they just automatically pause your withdrawals. So Lambda has every incentive to make students as successful as possible because they don't get paid unless their students succeed. So Foreverware is my last example before I summarize the trends that we discussed. Foreverware is a tech startup that I founded with my co-founder Nolan Singroy and my partner Nick Krummels to accelerate the world's transition to multi-use food packaging. And we do this by partnering with food vendors to offer a service that replaces single-use food packaging with superior borrow and return alternatives that won't end up in landfill. And we make money by offering a customer subscription. And we'll be launching our next product in about 8 weeks. If you want to support us, check out our website at foreverware.app. You can sign up for free on our homepage to help us measure market demand in your area. You'll get an email to opt into exclusive updates from our founders so that you can follow our story and progress. And we're currently searching for a CFO and other members to build out our team. If you have any interest, please reach out to us. You can learn more on social media and message us directly via Foreverware's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And I look forward to chatting with some of you. So let's sum up the business model trends we've discussed so far. We saw that sharing models allow you to maximize the use of existing high-value assets like cars, homes, and designer brands. With reuse, we saw profit being made on resale and consignment. We also saw durable, multi-use packaging add unpredicted value like stacking crates higher and preventing theft. With resource recovery, we saw the possibility of valuable metals and other resources being taken back from the customer and reused. We also saw that recovering used products and refurbishing them can be extremely profitable. With incentivization, we saw that trade-in credits are a good way to recover used assets for resale. With subscriptions, we saw leasing and repair programs that provided access to a variety of products at a reasonably low price and allowed customers to regularly upgrade their products without paying large fees to buy new products. So with product modularity, we saw that products have a longer useful life for customers because they could be upgraded. And finally, aligning incentives, we saw industries that changed from the traditional single transaction to long-term relationships that were beneficial on both ends. And that sums it up. So we're not quite done yet. In a second, I'm going to open up the floor to Q&A and discussion for the last 10 minutes. If you have a circular business model, please give your business a shout out. Maybe you have an existing model that you'd like to make more circular, feel free to share that as well, and we can help brainstorm. You can also add them down below in the comments. If you like this talk, subscribe to Foreverware on YouTube for more content on circular business models. Also, check out my talk on big ideas at RIAS 2020 on our YouTube channel. So, all right, feel free to share your video and audio using the button above. And if you don't have any questions, I'll wrap up early.